And so they tag left-handed as evil. They tag interracial as evil, right? Now they've tagged transgender people as evil, homosexuality as evil. When really, science tells us that it's a natural variation of humanity. Some of us are born with an attraction or an affinity toward attraction to the same sex. Some of us are born that we don't match up with our given assignment at birth. Transgender people are born that way. Right, so what does this have to do with religion? Well, religion has been used systematically to beat down people throughout the ages based on various different things. Based on the color of their skin, religion always backs it up. Religion always backs up. Two people of different race can't marry. Religion backs up. Left-handed people are evil. Religion will back up anything because religion will always line up with the bigotry of human thought. Now, this is going to sound odd. They brought me in here and wanted pastors to talk about religion and LGBT. But anybody that knows me, this side of the room pretty much knows me, can verify this. I don't like religion. More than I dislike religion, I dislike religious people. That is the God-honest truth. I don't like religion, and I don't like religious people. Why? Religion is a man-made attempt to know God and to appease Him. A man-made attempt to know and appease God. It is a system of rules, a system of regulations, ceremonies, doctrines, and awesome clothes. I kind of like clothes. And they are so tightly held, all of these things, that anybody that would stray away even on one point is considered heresy. And so the doctrine becomes legalistic. And it's constraining to anyone that would try to practice it often. This is religion. I'm not interested in what man has to say about God. I'm interested in what God has to say about God. Relationship with God, however, has nothing to do with religion. Relationship has nothing to do with religion. It's like the Samaritan woman at the well told Jesus, your people say we have to worship in the temple. Jesus responded to her, a day is coming where you don't have to worship in the temple anymore. You can really worship anywhere you are because the temple resides in you. And if you form a relationship with God, then you don't have to live by a set of rules. You automatically, innately have God residing in you to govern the way that you live, so that the way that you live lines up with God. I want to talk today about three main points. I'm going to talk about relationship with God. I want to talk today about identifying relationship, and I want to talk about the gay agenda. And those three things are what I want you to take away from this today. I'm convinced that when people really get to know God, they find it more and more impossible to hate the people that He created. Amen. I say this to my congregation all the time. I say, show me your friends, I will show you your future. And y'all, I grew up in Virginia, like I told you, and I grew up talking like Virginians talk. I moved to California for some time. I spent a little time in Tampa and Florida, but not that much. Joined the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps said, oh, you look like you belong in California. So they shipped me over to California. When I got to California, everybody talked about the way I talked. I sound like a Californian. People that were from California like, man, where are you from? And over the course of time, I spent about 5-6 years in California. Over the course of time, I began to speak more and more like a Californian. To the point that when I moved to Georgia, people from Georgia said, oh, you're not from around here, are you? And now, I'm beginning to speak, as I've been here for about 10 years, more and more like people from Georgia, to the point that I call back and talk to friends and family from Virginia and even from California. They say, man, you sound country. It's because I have begun to acclimate my language and the way that I speak by the environment in which I'm in, right? And when people stop following religion and start building relationship with God, the more they begin to sound, look, act, and love like God. And that's why it's no wonder that some of the most religious people are often some of the most hateful. Because religion does little to build relationship. All religion does is it teaches you how to act like you know God. It does not show you how to really know God. And so my message today to us as the LGBT community, as part of the LGBT community, is that we have the opportunity, and whether you're a part of this or not, and you're just here listening in is irrelevant. I am part of the community, and I say we because I am part of this community, have the same opportunity to know God as anyone else. There are no, everyone has the ability to have this relationship, whether you are black, whether you are white, Asian, Latino, indigenous, or beautiful mixture of 1, 2, 3 of those, whether you are old, whether you are young, whether you are male, whether you are female, whether you are transgender, whether you are intersex, whether you are short, whether you are tall, whether you are stout, whether you are thin, gay, straight, bi, right-handed or left-handed, maybe you're ambidextrous. The ability to have a relationship with God is yours. You are no less or more qualified than the person sitting next to you. We're designed for relationship with God. And it's not about rules, it's about the relationship. The relationship with God forces us to act like Him. But acting like God is not a requirement. This is what religion will teach you. Acting like God is a requirement for Him to love you. It's not a requirement for God to love you, to act like Him. God loves you regardless, whether you act like Him or not. My daughter, her name is Maya, 17 months old. And right now, she is in her formative years. She is learning, and she's mimicking, and she's learning through her interaction with people. She's learning social skills, she's learning motor skills, she's learning everything, really. And she watches Erica, my wife, and I constantly. And every day she does something new. And it's just like us. The other day she found a Q-tip. And she's trying to put it in her ear because she knows that's what she's seen me doing. I'm a stickler for clean ears, and so I'm in the bathroom, and so she's caught on to that. So she tries to do the same thing. And when she sees her shampoo bottle, she'll pick it up, and you gotta keep the lid on it and keep it tight, because if we're not careful, she'll dump it out, and then she'll pretend like she's washing her hair because she knows that's what we do with shampoo. We put it in our hair. She's learning all of these things, and she's mimicking us, but her mimicking us is not a qualification for us loving her. It would not matter whether she ever did anything like us ever in life. That is not the qualifier. We love her simply because she is. Just because she's being. So what's happening is she's learning these things because she's in relationship with us. She's learning how to be a human being by being around other human beings. Right? And so when we are around God, when we get relationship with God, we automatically, organically begin to act more and more like Him. That's why I said you can tell people by their fruit. See, this is not so much of a conversation about LGBT being affirmed by God, because God already affirms LGBT people. It is more about looking at the fruit of people, and especially those that say that LGBT people can't and they're evil toward them because of it, looking at them and saying, you know what kind of fruit do you produce? Because if you're evil, if you're ugly, if you're hateful, then you're not looking a lot like God. And I have a hard time believing that you're actually connected to God. Because if you were connected with God, then you'd have a whole lot more love, because love is a byproduct of being around Him. And so if your relationship was intact the way you say that your relationship is intact, Mr. Bigot, then perhaps you would love instead of judge, right? This is the way that religion needs to start moving. There's a common misconception that when a gay person becomes a Christian, that they automatically become straight right along with it. Y'all saw, I've been delivered. Y'all saw him, right? Women's no more. I won't carry a purse. I like women's. Y'all remember that? Andrew Caldwell. He's delivered. Really what he means is I that I act on the outside in hopes that it will modify the way that I think and the attractions that I have. It's easy. You know what, guys? I love food. Y'all can tell. And there are certain foods that are my favorite. Man, you put, Erica Bob, you put them honey buns or those cinnamon twists, those pecan twists on the counter. Man, I'll eat that whole pack in a day. I love them. But if I decide I want to lose weight, right? I'm delivered. I'm gonna lose weight. I can curve that. I can control that. And I don't have to have that cinnamon bun, that honey bun. I can use willpower and stop myself from eating it. Anybody can do that. You can do that with your sexuality. You can have willpower enough that you don't act on your sexuality. I'll tell you what doesn't change the fact that I do like those cinnamon buns and those cinnamon twists. And if I walk by it, I'm going to be looking at it, and some enemy's going to be like, man, I wish I could eat it, but I'm on a diet. But I told myself I wouldn't. But I'm curbing what I want because I have a goal that I would like to reach. That's the same thing with people that say they're delivered from homosexuality. Really, have you been delivered from your desire to have something, your attraction to something, or are you just delivered from your ability or your action to actually act on it? See, there are studies that show, and the Exodus group is a very good example, that people have curbed the way they act on the outside. They've learned how to be more masculine. Where they used to carry a purse, Exodus has changed them. So now they stand up straight and they don't twitch when they walk, and they've learned how to wear masculine clothes and do masculine things, and they no longer sleep with men. Okay, great. I know plenty of very butch men that also are attracted to other men. It's not about what you do on the outside, it's not about what you wear. It's about how you think, how you feel, how you love. We forget that sometimes. Wearing a dress if you're a girl or playing football if you're a man doesn't make you straight. You are who you are. And here's the thing, God knows who you are, and He loves you. He knows who you put on all facade on the outside if you want. You can curb your appetite and you can say, I won't do it. God still knows what you think and what you feel, and it's okay. He loves you. I have a few more questions. I'm gonna wrap it up. What's God's nationality? Is God black, white, Asian, mixed?
Spirit. He's international.
Yeah. Let me tell you, you Google it, God is white.
Caucasian. He's Caucasian.
Yeah. Yep, you Google it. But if you ask me, Almighty, he's black. Mm-hmm. Is God straight or gay? Anybody? It's God's sexual preference.
Everything.
Is God bisexual? Oh. We assume God is straight. Most people do. We assume these things. We say, God is straight. But why? Why would we assume sexuality for God at all? What use is sexuality to God? What's God's gender?
Agender.
Yeah. A lot of people say male. God is male. And in fact, Scripture, when it talks about the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, and we Christians refer to that as the third person of the Trinity, it uses a feminine noun. So we have the masculine Father God, and we have the feminine Spirit of God. And then, of course, we have the second person of the Trinity, which is Jesus Christ, who came to earth in the form of a man, who we consider God as well. My point is, we often personify God and create God in our image, versus accepting that God is way bigger than we could ever imagine. And because He's so big, it is so possible for Him to create all of us in all of our variations and do so in His image. And people ask me, and say, well, if you accept that God is gender neutral, why do you call God He? And here's my answer, perhaps you're wondering, because I've said he quite often. And here's why. Well, I read the Bible. As a Christian, we believe that to be the inspired word of God, right? And I read it. He refers to himself as a he, and I believe that that is God's gender preferred pronoun. I believe that if God were to wear a button, he, hers, his, him, turnaround buttons that we have sometimes, that God would pick the he one simply because that's what he put in the Bible. God is, I believe, agent. I believe he's neutral. God doesn't have gender. There's no reason for gender. There's no spirit. But I believe that by reading the Bible, he prefers he for me. That's what I got from it. You see God in another way, that's on you. God is God. It's comforting to me, honestly, to see God as male. It's comforting because I grew up without my father, and so to believe God is male for me gives me comfort because I have a father in him, right? We get so caught up, and the thing is, the questions that I ask, if we had evangelicals in here, would probably get very angry at me for even posing those questions, because we're so caught up in personifying God. God is not a person. God is God. We are imperfect. People are imperfect. God is perfect. In all God's ways, God is perfect. All right, I said I was going to talk about the gay agenda, and I'm going to hit that point, and I'm going to get out of here. I don't know the gay agenda. I said I was going to focus on it. The gay agenda actually never reached me. I waited for it. I did. I expected when I heard that there was one. I said, well, they're going to definitely send me an email. They're going to send me a note in the mail, something, a telephone call. They're going to have a Facebook message, a little invite or something for me to learn what the gay agenda is. I was expecting it. But it never came all these years, and I still don't know what the gay agenda is. I do know this, though. I know what the human agenda is. And really, the human agenda, in my opinion, is that we want other people to love us, and we want to know that our Creator loves us. We want to believe that there is an unconditional love out there that we don't have to earn. We want to believe that we don't have to worry about that unconditional love rejecting us, because if it's unconditional, there's nothing we could do to actually make it not love us anymore. I believe that's the human agenda. I think that really everything boils down to acceptance and love. I think everything that we do boils down to somebody appreciating and loving and believing in us. That's the human agenda, and I believe that that is also, or should be, what the gay agenda is as well. We call our church agape because it means the unconditional love of God. It is the Greek word for the unconditional love of God. Greek has several words for love, but this one in particular, agape, is unconditional love. And the struggle for gay people to be accepted by religion will forever be an uphill climb, because religion will always find its roots in the bigotry and bias of human beings. But gay people in relationship with God is a whole different story. It's a horse of a different color. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And may your agenda be to accept with full knowledge that God is love, and that sexuality is not a qualifier, nor is it a disqualifier for God's love. You can be both godly and gay. And in fact, you should be, if you are gay, also godly. Amen. That you should strive to produce the fruit of the godly. Those things are love and joy and peace and long suffering. Those are the things that God is organic, what organically happens to us when we are close to God. And that's why I say, when you see people who are not loving, who are not kind, who are judgmental, who are evil, people that do horrible things to other people, people that say horrible things to other people, I say, man, I can't imagine that you really are connected to God, especially when they do it in the name of religion, that you're connected to God the way that you proclaim that you are. Because when you have a love for God, man, how can you hate? How can you hate? And when you understand that God loves you, even in your imperfection, to look at somebody else and to judge them and say that God does not love them because of something that you perceive as an imperfection, it's hypocritical. And it's certainly not godly. And so today the message is, and I'm done, the message that I came to give you was that when it comes to LGBT people and religion, though we have been bashed, though we have been scorned, though religion has sought to harm us, that it is not God that is orchestrated the harm. It is people that have used God as a mask for their ignorance and for their hate. My wife used a great analogy, and then I promise I'm gonna open it up for questions, and I love it, I'm gonna use it right now. She said if she had grown up all her life being beat with a shoe, that eventually she would not trust shoes. She probably would walk around barefoot for the rest of her life. Because if shoes are what has harmed her, she wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. She said, however, when she got ready to go outside and she went out on hot pavement or had to go through some thorny bush, and someone said, hey, you probably need some shoes to navigate this terrain. And she, no, I don't like shoes. Shoes are horrible. They've hurt me. But it's not the shoe that hurt her. It's the person behind the shoe.
Amen.
And the shoe is still beneficial. See, it's not the religion. It's not Christianity. It's not God that has hurt you. It's the person behind it, using it, trying to take something that is good and make it bad. All right? Can I have any questions today? Anybody have any questions for me? You know, I was going to go through all the little clobber scriptures, man. Genesis says this and Leviticus says that, and you know, but I'm not even going to do that today, unless you want me to. Any questions? Specific questions? You're doing great. Thank you.
I have one. So my aunt, she would be the type of person that like you just like you're not gay, she would pray it and like essentially like to pray the gay away Christians.
Yes.
What is so like I just don't talk about it to her anymore. But what's something like if she were to like come at me or like where start talking about like what's something that I can tell her like that's not what the book's saying.
Right.
Because essentially like we'll just have like a battle of who knows more scripture.
Right.
You know.
Right. You know, I think to me, pray the gay away. I would ask, where did Jesus ever pray the gay away from anyone? Did Jesus ever encounter a gay person? Would be the number one question. If she doesn't understand that God that Jesus did, then she can look at the centurion. The centurion was, pretty much a gay man. He was a Roman soldier, and back in those times, it was pretty much commonplace for the Roman soldiers to take on boys as their kind of like their proteges, but they were really their sexual partners. And they would pretty much raise them up and they'd teach them to be warriors, and the cycle would continue. So we find in the Gospels, the centurion comes to Jesus. He says, my boy is sick. Now a lot of times people will say, oh, that's his son. That's not what the scripture says. It says his boy. Some scriptures will say his servant boy. And so we know that from history, servant boy from the centurion's point of view is really his male partner. He said, my boy is sick. And Jesus said, this man has more faith. And he wouldn't even come, he didn't ask Jesus to come because he felt kind of like, like many people do who are LGBT, like, I'm not kind of worthy of this, Jesus said he has more faith than everyone here. He'll be well by the time you get home. Jesus healed the centurion's boy. He never once said, the scripture doesn't, he never once said, now y'all are wrong, and what you're doing is terrible, and let me pray the gang off of you because, none of that. He didn't even say, go and sin no more. He did that with the prostitute when he said, your sins are forgiven, now go and sin no more. He didn't even tell the centurion, go and sin no more. So that leads me to believe that there was no sin for him to ridicule. He wasn't ridiculing him based on sexuality at all, even though this was, in fact, a man who was sleeping with another man. Jesus didn't say anything about it. So that's probably where I go with that. Pray the gay away. Jesus never did. other people. And so, not that I know of, I think the worst that has happened is, you got your keyboard warriors that they'll have something to say, and then if sometimes the news will do an article and, oh, they should be ashamed of themselves, that sort of thing, but nothing that I know of, that has, been, she's videoing, but, it's nothing so serious that it eventually, had to come to me and she say, hey, so, thank God. And so that tends to be a, pretty liberal, for it to be in the South, a pretty liberal city.
Yeah, we just recently had a Facebook person tell us our ministry was going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
We better watch out. But
yeah,
keyboard stuff.
warrior.
What's the story with you had Sodom and Gomorrah? I don't really know a lot about it.
Yeah, people will say, oh, it was homosexuality that God destroyed the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the scriptures really don't substantiate that at all. And first of all, God started telling Abraham prior to them actually going in the city, the angels going in the city. God started telling Abraham, man, I'm going to destroy the city. They're horrible. They're horrible people. And man, the sins against sins against me are just great. I'm going to destroy them. And Abraham pleaded, please don't destroy them. If there's one person, you dwindle it down. If you can spare it for 5, will you do it? God said, all right, well, if 5 people, I'll spare it. The angels went into the city to check it out. And this is the part where they say it was homosexuality. The men of the city saw them go into Lot's house, who was a Hebrew. He took them in kind of to shelter them, saw them go in. They're like, let those guys out. It's 2 angels. Let them out, so we can rape them, basically. And so he was like, no, don't rape these visitors. They come under protection of my house. He's like, here, take my daughters, idiot. And so people are like, see, that's homosexuality. Here's the problem with that. First of all, we're not talking, they didn't try to date him. They didn't say, hey, there's a guy in there that's kind of cute. Can you come out and have a discussion with me? I'd like to take him on a date. That's homosexuality, I'm attracted to that dude right there. Can I maybe get his number? Nothing like that. They were going to do what is common in, or at least was, or even in cultures now, they were going to gang rape him. So we all kind of familiar with prison lifestyle, that when there is a newbie, fresh meat, that they're going to indoctrinate him. And they want to show him that he is submissive to the other men, right? That's kind of how the way these things go. And so what they wanted to do was to humiliate these 2 men and show them that you are a visitor in our town. We're authority over you. So we're going to rape you. We're gonna take authority over you as a sign of authority. And so God said, that's horrible. I think everybody in here can agree that that's just terrible. We're talking about rape here. So yeah, God destroyed the city because these men wanted to rape these angels, There's really nothing to substantiate homosexuality. When you look in Ezekiel 16, so a lot of times Christians will tell you that, scholars will tell you Scripture will confirm Scripture. When we look at Ezekiel 16, it actually spells out, here are the sins of your sister Sodom. And it spells out what Sodom did. And homosexuality was not on the list. It was basically inhospitality, they were greedy, and they were horrible people. Nothing in there says, and they were gay.
If there was anything you could tell my boyfriend to help him keep his relationship and stay, even though he goes to a school where no one can be gay, no one can be transgender, no one can be anything, or else he will get kicked out. And he has been the target of people trying to cast demons out of him, people trying to physically assault him and stuff. If there was anything you could tell him, what would you tell him?
And he has to go to that school?
Yeah, he does.
that's so difficult, because I mean, you're in a room, and I don't care how beautiful you are, how much you love yourself, you're locked in a room with someone that continues to say you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. Eventually that begins to soak into your psyche, and something changes in you. And it hurts me to know that he's there amongst people who are beating him, you know. And, I would say to look for outlets where you can be affirmed, whether that's online, whether that is somewhere off campus, whether it's a small group of, closeted other people like mine. Find as many affirming spaces as humanly possible, and when you are not in or have to be in the negative spaces, just immerse yourself in those positive spaces, in those affirming spaces, to try to combat the negativity that he's obviously, feeling, and that's wearing him down. If he can get some strength from another source, an affirming source, then that's difficult, and just to continue to hear, and as much as you talk to him, let him know you're loved, you're okay, there's nothing wrong with you, as much as you can, feed him positivity. I talked on Sunday about the effects of words. The Bible says that God created heaven and earth with words, like he literally said, let there be, and things were. We're created in God's image, which means that the words that we speak are powerful. They actually make things manifest by our words, and I truly believe that. We have the ability to speak life or death over ourselves and other people. And right now they're speaking death over him, so it's very important that you, him, and anyone else that's affirming to him speaking life, and that way it will negate the darkness. Does that make sense?
I have a question, because that's kind of heavy. I have to change the thing in terms of feelings. The eunuchs was mostly trained to worship, and some of them worked around the kings and queens, and they was praised. What era did they stop praising and giving them the respect of glory? Because in the 18th, I'm saying the wrong year, but in that time, the eunuchs in the service, they were more praised and worshiped because of their differences.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, which some still say, y'all acting like eunuchs and all of that, because of y'all trans and y'all trying to be different. What purpose has that made them more better to take where we were to now where they trying to make it from?
I see what you're saying. I can't give you a specific date, but I liken it to any group that is found to be powerful. I use the word powerful. And just so everybody's kind of on the same page, the eunuch is, and especially in our Bible, the eunuch is someone who a lot of times would be in charge of the concubines and the wives of the king. And they were placed in this position, and it was a royal position. A lot of times they were held to very high regard. They were placed in this position based on the fact that they could do good hair, and they could, they were stylish, they could dress the queen, that they were not sexually attracted to the queen and the concubines, because a lot of times they would lotion them and place them in the bath and that sort of thing. And so if it had been a straight man doing these things, then he may have found attraction to the king's women, and there may be an issue. So they found either a man who was gay, who didn't have an attraction to, I can see her naked all day long, and they ain't gonna make me no never mind, that person. Or they would castrate men so that they would not be able, even if you have an attraction, you ain't gonna act on it, not with mine, they would castrate them. Or there were men who chose that's how, that's how they wanted to be. They would choose castration. So we look at them kind of as, for the most part, many of them, not all, were gay men and transgender. And not even because I think it's not substantiated that they were necessarily transgender, but I think it's the closest word that we can find in our day to kind of associate. And so they were held at a very high regard, just like two-spirited people were held at a very high regard in this country by the indigenous communities, that people who were not male or female, but who were considered two-spirit, we would consider transgender in various forms, were held in a very high regard. These are people that were honored based on their differences. And I think over the course of time, and we see this with everything, over the course of time, different started becoming evil versus different being held to a high regard and high standard of beautiful. And I don't know the year that all changed over, but I do know that in this country, it's almost like you're different than man. You're horrible. So we know that's not the truth. Any other questions? Alright. Well, did you have a question? No, go ahead.
Well, since you were on the subject of eunuchs, and if we wanted to look for more validation in the Bible regarding eunuchs, can you share with them the story of Philip and the eunuch?
Yeah. When we come into the Old Testament talks about that anyone whose genitalia was crushed, missing, or talking about, because women, they didn't care about women, talking about men whose genitalia was crushed or missing or whatever, and sometimes that happened in battle or whatever, they're disqualified to be in the temple. They couldn't worship really. So that's Old Testament. Well, we find once Jesus had died and resurrected, and then apostles were kind of in charge of the faith, that Philip was led by the Spirit to go down the road to Damascus. And when he got there, he found the eunuch, Ethiopian eunuch for the Queen Candace, on the side of the road reading out of the scroll of Isaiah. And he was reading it, but this is found in the Old Testament, the scrolls found in the Old Testament. So Philip says, hey, you know what you're reading there? And he's like, not really. And he's like, can you teach it to me? And he's like, yeah. So he teaches him about Jesus, really. So then he says, well, I want to be baptized. Is there anything that's hindering me that I cannot be baptized? And Philip says, no, there's nothing. There's water right there. Let's baptize you. And he baptizes them right there, on the side of the road. And so eunuchs, being that they are considered the sexual minority of their day, would be the closest thing to a eunuch would be either a gay man or a transgender person. And this person got baptized by Philip, and there was no problem with it. So, and honestly,
First convert was a black gay man.
yeah, and he was like the first convert. He went back to Ethiopia, and to this day in Ethiopia, the oldest sect of Christianity is there, and he was the guy that took it there. So even when you look in the first century, they have marriage rights in the books. Homosexuality, transgender, LGBT was never discriminated against until we started, thinking that different was bad. Any other questions? Well, I've really enjoyed you guys. I hope I wasn't too boring, and that you learned something, or you can take something away from today. I don't know my information.